it might not actually be the solution. It's probably just the problem in and of itself. Maybe we need something new. But please, tell me a little bit more about the sort of Stop Citizen Abuse campaign that you are currently running, and what are you saying? What is citizen abuse as you know it?
Yeah, I think a lot of really interesting things have started to happen this year that we'll get into as we go through this afternoon, and some of them might even be positive for the country in the longer run. But we started a thing within the IRR about 2 weeks ago, a campaign that we call Stop Citizen Abuse. And that came from us looking at the state of the country and in our own planning and campaigns teams considering which issues to prioritize. What do you prioritize? Do you prioritize expropriation now? Do you prioritize corruption? Do you prioritize incidents like the shooting of this man in Braamfontein, which is a terrible thing? Is this state shooting perfectly innocent citizen dead in the street? It's terrifying. The lack of accountability, where do we go? And we sort of felt overwhelmed. And our thinking developed further to say, you know what? You can't fight these things one by one anymore. They all originate from the same place. And what it all comes down to is the term we then came up with is citizen abuse. And citizen abuse happens. It's a term we want to get into the sort of common knowledge and understanding and the way that South Africans speak about the country. Happens when the state takes you for granted, steals the resources that you supply in terms of taxation, makes it difficult for you to run a business, physically intimidates you. Policemen assault you, or shoot at you, torture you. Metro policemen in Johannesburg intimidate women who travel alone at night. You don't take firm action to shore up the quality of education. Less than 1 in 10 kids will pass maths in high school in South Africa with a grade of 50% or higher. That's just an abuse, because those kids' futures are then completely wrecked. So what we've done, we've encapsulated all together in a concept that we call citizen abuse. And the way I described it to some of my young campaign colleagues is citizen abuse is like the Christmas tree that we've got. It's called citizen abuse. And you guys are going to go and find the ornaments that you're going to hang on this tree. So SANRAL's threat to my colleagues were there yesterday, that you won't renew your vehicle license if you don't pay your e-toll fee. Simple abuse of citizens are tired of being extorted by the state and intimidated. And SANRAL went ahead with that. The knock-on effects and the ramifications for the recovery of South Africa's economy, the financial stress that would introduce into households and small businesses would be catastrophic. So that's an example of an ornament we're going to hang on this tree. Shooting of this man in Braamfontein is an example of another ornament. One that was picked up this morning that's going into campaign pipeline now is Parliament significantly constraining who is able to produce submissions, oral submissions to Parliament on the proposed amendment of the Constitution, which will open the way to all manner of malfeasance and undo the whole constitutional edifice that was negotiated in the 1990s. So what happens under citizen abuse is we flag these events and we hang the ornaments on the tree. We've also been to see the union buildings. That happened about a week ago. We delivered a note that was very nicely received and properly done, to say that there is a broader institutional problem of citizen abuse. And either as the state, you need to get out of the way where you perpetrate it, allow people to get on with their own lives, or you need to rein it in properly. And we've had the assurance that tomorrow the union buildings will produce a response. We further want to create a channel for, if you or your community is the victim of this sort of thing, let us know what has happened and why. And we'll use the channel we're opening up into the union buildings to present these various cases. Can be a small thing, can be a big thing. If your partner, your wife, girlfriend, your husband was attacked by a metro policeman, let us know. We'll take it all the way into the union buildings for you. If you live in a community where sewage flows through the streets, electricity hasn't been on for weeks, or whatever the case is, your municipal manager is deeply corrupt, forward the details through to us. We'll take it on and we'll pass it along. And you say to us, well, this is completely useless. I mean, we already know the union buildings doesn't take this stuff seriously. What does it help you guys do this? It's immensely powerful. It fits right into what we call battle of ideas theory. Battle of ideas theory is something we're much practiced at and that we've been doing in South Africa for a number of decades. And the theory holds that the winner of any great ideological or political contest, such as that we're engaged in this country now, is ultimately the side that injects the greatest volume of compelling argument into the public domain. That's the winner. And circulating alternative ideas and challenging weak or dangerous ideas is an incredibly, in itself, dangerous thing to do. This is the reason why the Nazis burnt books. This is the reason why China censors the internet. This is the reason why the left seeks to deplatform critical voices, because they know how powerful it is when an alternate idea gets out. And the alternate idea we're trying to get out in this case, quite upfront about what it is to teach the broader public that you are a victim of an abusive state, and that the abuses you suffer, whether it's in being overly taxed, or whether it is that you can't get access to a vaccine, or whether it is that your kid has no real future because they were exposed to South African schools, you experience abuse at the hands of the state in the same way as the chap next to you. What the South African government is going to begin to do ever more, it's already much practiced in it, as it comes under further pressure, and you can ask me a bit later why I say it's under pressure. It's under severe political pressure, our latest polls show, is it's going to play on divide and rule. And what it's going to do, it's going to play various communities and institutions off against each other. So at a very sort of superficial level, it will create the impression in the minds of many black people that your problem is white people. Will create the impression in the minds of poorer people that your problem is middle-class people. It's a strategy that has worked very well for every group that has tried to govern this country, really over the last 400 years. If you can, in the midst of that, sell the message to ordinary people and teach them that you are a victim of state abuse in the same way as the guy next to you, you create the potential that strategies of divide and rule will fail, because ordinary people will begin to understand, I might be better off than you, I might not be as poor as you, but I experience abuse at the state in a very similar way to what you do. The last component of this is, once we've taught the idea of citizen abuse and we've begun to organize communities in a way that they can report abuses and rally around those concepts, is to begin to highlight what we hope this will produce, more and more examples, which are already happening, of communities that have decided to go out and do it on their own. Whether it's as simple as going to fill the pothole in front of your house, or whether it is those communities who have completely taken over many of municipal functions in deteriorating towns. We want to create the sense in people's minds that the state in Pretoria is not going to come and help you, but you're not helpless. If you sit back and do nothing and allow your community to be divided by populist politicians, your circumstances will worsen. But if across your community you all realize that you're victims of the state abuse, you realize the state's not going to do anything to get you out of that position, and you then start to address these problems on your own, we have the potential to build in this country enclaves, which will be very strong, almost quasi, if you use quite a sort of dramatic language, not quite that dramatic, sort of liberated zones, where people realize that if we want to get ahead and build a safe and stable and prosperous community, the best thing we can do is actually to work together across every line of race and class and socio-economic disadvantage to short-circuit the state, take the state out of our lives where it is the primary problem in our communities, and begin the process of rebuilding. And that is the ultimate objective of the Stopping Citizen Abuse campaign.